we were having an argument in the kitchen, and I just said to him, like, I want a divorce. And I remember the look on his face. He was horrified. And then the same old pattern, like a few days later, I would feel bad about something. And, we would have this most like intimate, like passionate makeup. And I would just beg for forgiveness. And I said it multiple times. And I remember every time he kind of just got less affected by what I said. He just kind of rolled his eyes in the end, like, oh, here she goes again. So I was in this space where I was getting really feeling hopeless. And I read or heard something. If you threaten divorce regularly, then you are verbally or emotionally abusive. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm kind of living my life and my marriage thinking that this disrespect is normal, and something kind of clicked that day, like, this is not normal. This is not normal love. And that was a very, very powerful moment of accountability for me to just like, what I'm doing here is not okay.
Real women, real marriage turnarounds. This is the Empowered Wife Podcast. My guest, Vani, felt lonely, overburdened, and stuck in her marriage. She had no choice but to control everything for her family until she found another way. Now she feels less burdened, and her marriage feels peaceful, playful, respectful, and tender. She's going to tell us how she did it so you can do it too. Vani, welcome to the Empowered Wife Podcast. I'm so excited you're here.
Laura, thank you so much. It's just such a pleasure to be here. It really is. Thank you.
Oh, great. Well, I would love to start at the beginning. What made you fall in love with your husband? How did you meet? What drew you to him?
Oh, Laura, well, I remember going down to the local event centre where all the basketball was happening, and I remember watching this man on the basketball court, and he's a big guy, had it like an afro here, and he could just move on that court, and he was graceful but powerful, and I just sort of couldn't take my eyes off him. And I didn't know him. He was new to town. He was originally from my hometown, but he'd done his schooling elsewhere and come back. So it was kind of like, who's this new guy? And yeah, he just stood out to me on the court, and he had this kind of mesmerizing way. I don't know. I was just drawn to him, and had never even spoken to him. And I guess as it turned out, like, yeah, he was friends with my friend's boyfriend at the time. So there was like a little bit of a connection. So I guess we started to connect through mutual friends.
So he's a great athlete, it sounds like.
Yeah, definitely caught my eye. Yeah, it was very attractive. Yeah.
And then how did you know he was the one?
Well, I mean, I don't know, Laura, but just watching him that day, I was just smitten with him. I don't know. I just had, I was just attracted to him. So I remember meeting him a couple of times through my friend, and yet there was one night in particular. Actually, we were out clubbing as young teenagers, and yeah, it was time to go home, and there was a car ride sorted for us, but there was one seat short. And I remember him saying to me, he was like, you can sit on my knee if you want. And I was like, no, like, I can't do that. I'm not going to sit on your knee. And I think I actually said to him in return, well, you can sit on my knee if you want. And this is this 100 kg man, right? Like, I couldn't receive that offer. I mean, it wasn't safe, but also I just felt like mistrusting, like I can't sit on your knee. And so, yeah, I definitely turned down that offer. And I guess that was just one example of how it was just really hard for me to kind of like receive. And yeah, it was, yeah. So even though I liked him, we couldn't connect, I guess. So there was multiple sort of meetings before we really, really did connect, I guess. And so there was this one night on the dance floor, because me and my girlfriend, we did do this a little bit. We would go out and we were the girls on the dance floor that just had fun, and we were just really in our vibe, girl of fun and light. And so we were just having a great time. And I remember seeing him walk in, and he came over. He came over to us while we were dancing, and he just kissed me, and I was like, "Whoa!" And yeah, just it's kind of yeah, it was magnificent. It was bold. It was courageous of him. And so kind of like from that moment, that was the spark, that was it. Mm,
Wow. So, and it sounds like not a lot of like it took you by surprise that he came.
absolutely. We hadn't had a lot of conversation at all.
Wow, but you weren't upset. You were happy. This
I
is
was happy with that. Yeah.
more advanced. So he must have known. He got the signal, like you were into it. So, all right. So
Laura,
you
I have to tell you another part to that though.
tell me.
This is the embarrassing part of the story.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you. So, I later learned that in his culture of like greeting people with like a kiss on the cheek is quite normal. And for me, it's not. It's not like, say, a normal thing. And so what, what happened, like, I remember him telling me this like a long time later that he had just come over to kind of greet us and he had like come over to kiss me on the cheek. And I kind of like just accidentally turned my head and kissed him on the lips. And when I found this out, I was just absolutely mortified, with embarrassment. But at the same time, hey, it was the start of something.
It was a happy
Mm.
accident. So
Mhm. Yeah.
such a sweet story. So, and he wasn't like saying like, oh, sorry. Like he was, like he kind of backed it up. Sounds like, even
Yeah,
though
he
it
backed
was an
out.
accident.
Yeah, he took that moment and ran with it.
So he'd been after
Yeah.
you for a while anyway, it sounds like. So,
Mm.
all right. So you start dating and then like how did you know like this is the guy for me? I'm going to marry this guy. Like what
Yeah.
about
Good
him?
question. Good question, Laura. And all I can say is from that night I first started watching him play basketball, I just kind of I just kind of wanted to marry him. I don't know. I just kind of knew. And so after that night on the dance floor, we were kind of inseparable. We moved in pretty quickly together, and we had our first baby before my 21st birthday. So we were just like all in from the start. I think it was just yeah. I just knew. I
Wow.
just knew he was the one. Yeah.
It's such a fun feeling. You were so
Mm.
certain. Like it sounds
Uh-huh.
like you never second guessed or questioned or
No.
agonized about this decision. Like he was your guy. And
Yeah. Yes.
you saw him
Absolutely.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I love it. So it sounds like a very romantic start and, like it's like a fun beginning too, right? It's
Mm.
like dance clubs and basketball courts and,
Yeah.
like surprise kisses. So, yeah. So you got married and then, like things started to change at some point. What happened?
Yeah, well, I remember being pregnant with my first baby, and this is I remember I was very, very fit and active, and I remember I was overdue, and I was running upstairs to our house. Like, I could just run upstairs, and I just felt so comfortable being pregnant. And I remember my mother-in-law saying one day, "Oh, I'm so excited for my baby. I'm so excited for my baby." And I remember feeling just not okay with her comment. Like something felt off with it. I felt protective of this baby. Like I felt, oh, this is my baby. And she was there saying, like, I'm so excited for my baby. And and so there was this kind of controlling instinct, I guess, that was there with the baby and the way yeah. So I think yeah, once baby was born, there were little things that started to crop up, I guess. I had my certain ways I wanted to do things, and yeah, there was normal pressure. There was normal pressure in the relationship. But that moment does stand out to me because now I think that's so strange, like such a strange response to her being so excited about the baby. but I know there was just this feeling of like, oh, I've got control when he's in my belly, and like as soon as he's out in this world, I'm going to have no control. It just feels scary. Feels scary to have no control. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
and so obviously we weren't married at that point actually because yeah, so I was pregnant with my second one before we got married, but during that time I often felt like we should be married. We should have yeah, I should have a ring on my finger. Like I'm, now pregnant with like your second baby, like why aren't you proposing? And so I would often like mention that to him. And to me, I was committed right from the start, like I felt. And so it felt sad for me to think, why is he not like, why does he not want to get married? Like, why is he not proposing? And so, yeah, I would drop those hints kind of regularly. And yeah, I remember one day in the kitchen, I must have said something about it. And he goes, well, we can get married then. And, and just like a comment like that. And I said, okay, well, where's my ring then? And he pulled it off the top shelf and he goes, here it is. And
He's he's had it.
I had it. And he was like, here it is. And there was no getting down on one knee. He hadn't asked my father about it or anything like that. But, at the time, Laura, I was excited. I was like, oh, amazing. Like, I get what I want. Like, this is great. And I was excited. But on reflection, like, there was that feeling like, that wasn't romantic at all. Like, he'd put no effort into that. It felt a bit sad, but I did still get what I wanted.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Can relate. I ruined my proposal as well. So, yeah, but no, so you're happy you're getting what you wanted, so yeah.
Mm.
So then you got married, you have 2
Yeah.
kids now.
Yeah. Yeah, so we actually got married about a week and a half later. Like it was oh, no, 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 no. We got engaged and then, yeah, there was a bit of time and then we decided to get married within like a week and a half of like, oh, should we do this? And then, yep. And so it was a pretty quick organized wedding, but it was a really beautiful day. Really, yeah, really gorgeous day. And I was pregnant with my second baby at that time. Um,
Oh, okay, yeah. So you were like you're all about just getting that done, kinda like running through that milestone to get to, married life.
Yeah, yeah, and I think our wedding song was like "Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now" from Jefferson Starship. So it was like, yeah, like we're married now, like nothing's gonna stop us. We're yeah, just felt like the right fit.
Oh, but so this is a great day, and you are clear you wanna marry this guy for sure.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Uh, so and then, so yeah, so how were the first few years of marriage?
Yeah. So our relationship was always, I would say, like a bit of a yo-yo, like with between passion and pain. So
Uh,
mostly passionate and mostly great at the start. But yeah, I was raised by a strong mum and dad. I had five sisters who were also very capable. Um, and I feel like I went into marriage with a very like can-do attitude. Like I can achieve whatever I want. I'm very goal-driven, high-achieving, and yeah, I just had that attitude. And I had really beautiful masculine strengths. I think like I was really good at getting done what needed to be done. And like looking back now, I don't think I knew anything about feminine strength, right? And any of those skills. So I just expected marriage to be 50-50, have long, deep conversations about anything from parenting to politics, and that we would have joint goals. I saw that with my parents. I saw that they had the same goals. They worked together to achieve their goals. So I kind of just imagined naturally that we would do the same thing. So we would plan to buy an investment property, or we would be working out our budget together, or we'd be renovating our house together. Like we would have the same goals. That's kind of what I imagined. And yeah, it didn't turn out like that at all. Um, we were very, very different and we had very different ways of doing things and very different goals. And one of the questions that I would always ask him, we would sit down and I'd say, so what are we doing with our life? It's just like, what are we doing? Like, I just felt like I needed direction. I wanted to sort things. I wanted a plan. And it's actually something he jokes about now. But yeah, that was a very strong, that's kind of the energy I was in all the time. Like, like I want to have that. I want to have that agreement. I want to discuss this. I want to be on the same wavelength. And when I would have those conversations, Laura, he'd just freeze. He freeze up. He would withdraw. He wouldn't entertain them at all. And that frustrated me because I felt like, we're in a marriage. Obviously, this is what I want. Like I want, and you're not even willing to talk about things. I just feel like, are you the right guy for me? I feel so, why does it feel like such a struggle to have conversations? It was hard. And so, then I
Lonely.
would find him watching, like playing on the Xbox, and I'm busy thinking, well, what are we doing with our life? And, and you're playing the Xbox. Like, I just don't understand it. I don't
Yeah.
understand that. And so we would have these clashes, and our fights were like, we were very passionate. And so our fights were also very passionate and loud. And, you know, I would say things and I would get angry and I would let it all out. Like I wasn't afraid to kind of, I wouldn't, yeah, I would put on my boxing gloves to say it like not physically, but metaphorically, I would be in the fight. Like I'm happy to have a discussion. I'm not afraid of an argument. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, so that's kind of why I kind of refer to my relationship as a bit of a yo-yo. Very, very passionate and fun, but then very painful and very intense when we argue. Yeah. And I guess that kind of just happened more. It just got more and more frustrating as time went on.
Yeah. Is there a moment, like an argument that you remember, like where you just like it really got pretty bad?
Actually, yeah, there is one. Yeah, I remember this one was actually just before our wedding. It was a couple of days before our wedding. And his friends and family had guy friends and family had taken him out for a stag do, and they, obviously had a great night and had a lot of fun. And I heard a whisper that they'd gone to a strip club, and I thought, I just want to know like what went on. I just want to know what he saw. I want to know what happened. Like I want it all the details. And so I remember he was lying in bed and I went down the hallway and went into the room and I just started asking those questions and trying to like crack him open and really just trying to dig for the information because I thought I would feel better if I knew everything. And I also thought, well, he should be honest with me. Like he should probably share all those details. And so I just asked and I felt his resistance and that was irritating me because I thought, oh, so what are you hiding? Feel your resistance. And so I asked a few questions and he would give me little bits of information. I think he was like trying to balance this. There was a balancing act on his side, like how much should I say to keep her happy versus like I don't want to say too much and make her terribly angry. So there was like he was trying to balance things, but all I saw was this man that was holding back and telling white lies. I could tell he was telling white lies. And yeah, I just got, obviously that ended like pretty intense as well, where I was sort of like really trying to push, push, push. And when I don't get what I want, I just push harder and I lean in harder. And anyway, I realized I'm not getting what I want. And I just like, I left the room and I didn't know what to do with my frustration. And I walked past the laundry and I saw a bucket in there. And so I just filled that bucket up with water, Laura, like right to the top. And I carried it down the hallway and he was lying in bed and I just tipped it all over him.
So he knew how frustrated you were.
He knew how frustrated I was. And I looked at him and I just said, no, you clean it up. And
How
he
did he?
just, yeah, he just looked at me with a smile. I'll never forget his face. And he just left the room. He just left. And I thought, oh, wow. Yeah, I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know, like I didn't get what I wanted. I didn't
No.
get the information.
And you were probably thinking the worst, right? He's not telling me what happened at this stag party, so what
Uh-huh.
exactly happened? You're probably
Uh-huh.
running wild with,
Yeah.
you know, things that, yeah, which is scary.
Mm, mm. It
Yeah.
was, and of course, this I was also pregnant at the time, and our wedding was in a couple of days, right? So I just thought, this is devastating timing. Like
Yeah.
and I think for me, it was the dishonesty. I felt like one of my values is honesty. That's very important to me. And if he can't even be honest about what he did, even if it was harmless fun, whatever, if he can't be honest about it, that's really disappointing. And that's really scary to marry someone that, is that different, even on that level, doesn't value those same things. Mm. And so I guess, Laura, this is typical us. Even though there was some intense thoughts and feelings, I would just be mad for a few days. And then I obviously would reflect and think, there's some things there that I could have done better. Like I was always quite accountable. And because I was always undignified in my arguments, I always had some level of guilt to when I reflected, there was always multiple things that I'd said or done that were completely inappropriate. And so because of that guilt, I just thought, and I would just like squash down all the feelings and we would naturally miss each other. And so then I would just feel like it's like a completely different feeling. Like, I do love this guy and it's all going to be okay. So it was that was that yo-yo back again. Right. And so yeah, we just carried on and I had the most magnificent wedding. It was the best day ever. So it's just chaotic, right? It's just this was us.
Yeah, but so relatable, I think, in terms of, like the yo-yo, like the ups and downs and like feeling so undignified and then like having this emotional hangover from it afterwards. At least I relate to it so much.
Mm.
Then it fades. Like, and then you're like, yeah, I miss him. This is my guy. Let's like,
Yeah.
and not knowing how to fix anything but it's also kind of water under the bridge. Like that already happened. Right. Like, so now we're having this great wedding. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
Okay. So, and the good times are good. It sounds like the good times.
Yeah, yeah. They were great. They were great. And I remember a wedding at our wedding, my sister said a speech, my older sister. And I remember her words. She said, Vonnie always gets what she wants. And she wanted Ash, and now look, she's got him. Um, and I remember laughing, like listening to her speech, thinking, yeah, it's true. Like I always get what I want. Like that's true. And being kind of like, I thought it was funny, but I was also proud of it. Yeah, but I think that mindset, like that's actually what was quite kind of damaging in my relationship. That felt like that knowing like I'll always get what I want, that pushy kind of, yeah. Anyway, it's like it worked for me up to date. Like it worked for me being a single person, always pushing, and getting what I want in that way. Um, yeah, but wasn't working so well in my married life really.
So there is like a steamroller element to your getting what you want, not just
Yeah,
like
exactly.
your desire. It's more of like an insistence of some
Mhm.
kind.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You got it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I
and so
guess, yeah. Mm.
and part of you felt proud, like, yeah, I know how to get what I want. I get what I want, and then, but
I'm
I
so
kind
proud
of
of
hear
that.
like looking back on it, now you're not as enamored of that approach.
Yeah. 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 Exactly. I knew how to get what I wanted. And I was so proud of my success that I had as a single woman, or as, yeah, a young woman. And yeah, so I remember thinking fondly of that comment in her speech. And then, yeah, I guess later on, after years of tension in my marriage, and just kind of realizing like I don't have everything I want. like I can get everything I want in like physical ways and goals and things, but I don't have what I really want. And that's intimacy and connection. I don't have it and I don't know how to get it. And my normal way where I get everything I want is not helping me here.
Mm.
I'm not getting what I really want, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Foreshadowing. Yeah.
mm, yeah. So, like at that point in my marriage, I was in control of everything. I managed all the finances. I was the liaison person when we were doing renovation projects. Like I talked to the builders, I talked to the mortgage broker, I chose the interest rates. Like I did everything. Um, and you know, I remember one day, Laura, he came to me and said that him and his dad had been talking and they wanted to buy a water blaster and they were going to go halves in it. And, you know, there were so many thoughts that popped into my head, but, you know, one was, you know, no, that's just going to end badly. Like if we're sharing an asset, like that's just going to end up badly. Um, and then also the financial, like we can't, I don't really think that's a good idea to spend that money on that. And I said no. And that was just typical. Like I approved everything. Yeah.
So he didn't
And
buy
so
it?
he didn't buy it. No, that
Yeah.
was just the dynamic in our relationship. Yeah. Everything came through me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm,
Yeah. Yeah. I can relate to that too. So,
mhm.
so, and then, so you're running everything and it's not exhausting yet. It sounds like it's not overwhelming. You
Yeah,
prefer it.
I think it got that way, like, pretty quickly, um, but it just came out like, I was overwhelmed, but it just came out in frustration, like, if he was doing more, it would be fine. Um, you know, if he didn't play Xbox or if he wasn't playing golf or whatever, like, everything would be fine. So it was overwhelming, but like I was capable, like it was all good at the same time. Like there was an element of if he would just do a few more things, everything will be fine.
Okay.
But he was
You
just stepping back. He was just stepping back more and more, Laura. He didn't want any, like, he didn't want to be told what to do, I guess. So he would just withdraw and do less and less. And I would just feel more mad. It was just, yeah, it was hard. It was hard work.
uh,
Mm.
yeah. And so, but you're the girl that gets what she wants. So,
Mhm.
so what did you do then?
Well, I think I think our fights just got more and more regular, and we would have longer days of silence after them. And I was getting so frustrated that I probably started to lean on like bigger threats. And I remember the first time I ever said this, but we were having an argument in the kitchen about something, I don't know what. And I just said to him, like, I want a divorce. Like, I wanna leave, like, I want a divorce. And I remember the look on his face, Laura, it was horrible. Like, he was horrified. He was horrified.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, I mean, that's just how I felt, and I felt like I really did want a divorce. Like, I felt so angry at him. And then I guess, you know, the same old pattern, like, a few days later, I would feel bad about something and, you know, we would have this most like intimate, like passionate makeup. And I would just like sort of beg for forgiveness, I guess, and just, you know, I didn't mean it. And I love you. And of course, and yeah. And that just started to happen still regularly because even though we madly loved each other, did not know how to deal with all this frustration and this overwhelm. And so we would just constantly have these arguments. And so it would happen more and more, and I said it multiple times, and I remember every time he kinda just got less affected by what I said, you know, like, he just kinda rolled his eyes in the end, you know, like, "Oh, here she goes again," you know, like, it was yeah. So I was in this space where, yeah, I was getting really, I guess, feeling hopeless, and I remember this memory from childhood. I was probably about, I don't know, 8 or 9 years old, and I remember watching the TV, and there was an ad on TV about domestic abuse, and there's this large Maori man, just like a big man on the screen, and he had the words "love" tattooed above his knuckles, and I remember him holding his knuckles towards the camera and sharing that in his life, like physical abuse and love were completely normal. That's why he had love tattooed on his knuckles. And this was like a normal thing. And so the ad was all about, um, you know, violence is not okay, like domestic abuse is not okay. And I remember as a little girl, because I never saw that and that wasn't modeled in my life. So I remember thinking, this ad is absolutely ridiculous. Everybody knows you don't punch someone. Like everybody knows that. This ad is completely ridiculous. Um, and so for me, there was one point, like jumping back again into this period of my life where I was threatening divorce to my husband regularly in arguments. And I read or heard something, and I don't know where it was, but it was, if you threaten divorce regularly, then you are verbally or emotionally abusive. Like I don't know where I heard that, but I read it, and that image of that man came flooding back to my mind, and I thought, oh my gosh, like I'm more similar to this man than I ever thought. He's living his life thinking physical abuse and love and the combo of that and the cycle of that is normal. And I'm kind of living my life and my marriage thinking that this disrespect and this love is normal. And something kind of clicked that day, like, yeah, this is not, our cycles is not normal. This is not normal love. And that was a very, very powerful moment of accountability for me, to just like, what I'm doing here is not okay. Like, I'm unhappy, but I'm doing something that's not okay. Yeah.
It
Mm.
sounds awful. It sounds, oh, so, I don't know, like, suffocating in a way is the word that
Mm.
comes to mind. Like, you were saying this to try to get a different response, to try to
Yeah.
make things better, and it
It's
didn't
not.
work, but
Mm.
you had nothing else, right? You didn't have
Yeah.
anything else. So it sounds like, yeah, it just sounds so trapped, I guess, is what
Mhm.
I like. And
Mm.
it sounds like an awful feeling to have this guilt and shame that you see yourself in a verbally abusive
Mm.
role. But also,
Mm.
what the heck are you gonna do? Like, how are you gonna ever get
Exactly.
out of that?
Exactly, Laura. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm. Mhm.
awful,
Yes, I
awful.
was stuck. Yeah, I felt stuck. Yeah. And then I think it was around the time that COVID hit. I think, like, yeah, so yeah, there was another thing. Um, I I think for me, that time was just so full of fear as well. So it added this like huge other layer of complication to my life. And I remember as a child, like my mum would tuck us into bed when we weren't feeling well, and she would tell us stories about the little soldiers in our body and they were going to fix us. And, so I grew up with this real faith in my body's ability to fight. And so, with COVID, like I didn't have a lot of fear around that itself, because I always had this upbringing, our bodies are amazing, and with the right rest and nourishment and love, like we'll be fine. So I had a lot of faith there. And I didn't have a lot of faith in the vaccine. And so I had this level of fear with that. And so, yeah, like looking back, I can just see there was fear on both sides. Like no matter where you sat on the scale, like there was either the fear of the virus or the fear of the vaccine. And we were all just scared of one thing a little bit more than the other thing, right? So that's how I feel now. And at the time, I just felt this like intense fear and worry. And I started to, obviously spend a lot of time and energy kind of trying to figure out like how to protect myself and my children. And I'd made a decision about what was I was going to let happen to my family. And That time, Laura, was so hard because, again, I felt like my husband, I couldn't really talk to him on the level I needed to about it all. And I felt a lot of pressure around making all of these decisions myself. And so I dove into like really trying to research things because I felt so much responsibility and the stress of, it was very, very, very stressful. And I guess yeah, I mean, there was the shutdown in New Zealand, like everything shut down. So all the activity stopped. And then when things started to open up again, there was massive restrictions on the people that chose not to get the vaccine. So it felt like I was kicked out of I really loved and was loving the surf lifesaving. We'd get up, we'd go for morning swims, we'd watch the sunrise, we'd train together how to rescue each other. We were learning all the first aid. Like I just loved it. And I wasn't allowed to go. I wasn't allowed to do these things. And my children, like one of them had New Zealand trials for basketball. He wasn't allowed to attend. They couldn't play rugby. There was just, my daughter wasn't allowed to swim when all her friends were. It was so devastating because it was like this family self-care. Like all of our self-care was just, we were a real active family. So that all just stopped and it was just scary. And yeah, there was just a lot of fear and, yeah, it was a really, really hard time on my marriage too. My husband really was in a position where he's potentially losing his job. So there was financial pressure. Um, and you can imagine, like, I was not a happy mum. I was not a happy wife. I was very, very scared.
Now, and did you and your husband see this the same way? Or was he just deferring to your decision?
Yeah, that's a good question. And like, I feel like I think he saw it the same way, but there was no safety in our ability to have conversations. And I just felt like I never really knew exactly where he stood or exactly what he was thinking because he just wasn't interested in having those kind of discussions. I think I was just again in that energy where like I wanted to talk and I didn't really want to listen to anyone, but I did want to listen to him, but I wasn't in that energy either. So he just kind of like, I don't know, we couldn't even have a conversation about something like that, which was so important.
Yeah.
I think although he agreed, it's just a strange dynamic to explain, but I just felt like we couldn't have conversations about that either.
Yeah. So he was
Mhm.
trying to avoid conflict, it sounds like. So he
Yeah,
just get engaged in that
yeah.
conversation. And so, all right, so you're in this horrible pandemic. Yeah, I mean, a really uh, having to pay a high price. It sounds like for your decision to not vaccinate, and yeah, feeling a lot of disappointment. Your kids are disappointed. Your husband's
Mm,
nervous about his job, and you are an unhappy mom. So
mm.
uh, this is a hard time at your house, I'm sure.
It was so stressful, and even like I remember having conversations with my father-in-law about things, and I just felt this pressure, Laura. Like if I could convince him, or like not that he needed convincing on anything, but if I could convince him of my thinking, like I won't feel so alone and I won't feel so judged, and maybe that will help things. And so I would be I would have a very strong intention on trying to convince him, or like this is just one example of my thinking, and that happened everywhere. Like I was writing letters to the swimming pool to explain my point of view. Like it was happening everywhere, Laura. I was just trying to convince everyone I could, and it was just it was very exhausting. And I was I was stressed out. My kids just didn't have that fun mom. Yeah, and yeah, I think I could have handled that all way differently, but I had no skills. I had no skills in any of anything up to this point. I just felt how hopeless, and yeah.
It sounds awful. It sounds very lonely and, just, scary. It sounds so scary, right, to have
I
these
was terrified.
convictions and no one yeah, you're terrified. You were terrified.
I was terrified, Laura. I was terrified. I was so scared.
Yeah, yeah, you're so
Mhm.
scared. It's hard.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, at that time as well, I had boys that were, like, going into the teenage years, and, so there was, like, struggles on that level as well, and I remember trying to tell my, like, probably 12-year-old boy at that time to do something, and he wasn't gonna do it, and I was gonna make him do it, like, he had to listen to mum. And so there was, like, ultimatums, and I tried to make him go for a run. Like, I was like, "You have to go for a run." And he wouldn't. And I just remember thinking, wow, like, he's physically strong now. Like, I can't, he's not gonna listen to me. And I obviously can't make him go for a run. So there was this dynamic happening at the same time where I felt like I was losing control of my kids. And I threatened my son that night, and I said, "If you're not gonna respect me or listen to me, then you can sleep outside." And off he went downstairs. And I went downstairs later that night, Laura. It was cold. It was a cold night. And he was curled up, outside. He was curled up outside under the table. Sorry. No blanket, just curled up in a fetal position. This little 12-year-old boy. And I just broke. I didn't know how to handle anything. I was so sad and scared, and I had no control. I was losing control in every way, and it was just heartbreaking, Laura, to see him.
Oh.
It was heartbreaking to see him under that table. Yeah,
Oh.
sorry.
Oh gosh. Yeah. It sounds heartbreaking and it sounds so yes, terrifying. Terrifying. This
Yeah.
is how you survived up till now. And it's not clear how to proceed. How to
It's
proceed.
not cool. No, that's
No.
true. That was true. It wasn't clear. I didn't know what to do. We have this saying in Māori over here, like mana motuhake, and it means self-determination and independence. And I just think, like he had a lot of that. Like he didn't want to be governed by, he was going into that stage where he wanted his own
That's right.
autonomy, and I didn't know how to deal with that. I also did not have the skills in that area of my life either. So it was an unknown, and yeah, just another factor, like another thing. So I felt very, very broken at that point. I didn't know how to fix my marriage. I didn't know how to parent. I didn't know how to find any joy or calm. And I
Oh,
was absolutely miserable. My kids were miserable as well. They were very miserable. And I think for me, Laura, I think for me, I could have handled being miserable my whole life. Like, I think I could have put up with that. But to see my kids miserable, I just knew that something's got to change. I've got to do something different. I will not let my kids be miserable.
oh,
But I think I could have let myself be miserable.
oh my
Yeah.
gosh. It sounds heartbreaking. It sounds yeah, it's so sad. And yeah. So yeah, your kids motivated you that you had to change. So yeah, what was is there a story from of you saying, "Okay, we can't go on like this"?
Nah, there's not. Like, again, I didn't think I could have any of those kind of conversations with my husband. Like, that wasn't, we couldn't. There was no safety, Laura. I didn't know how to do that.
Yeah, and he did Ash I mean, was Ash there when your son was curled up in fetal position under the table outside?
I actually don't think so, because he used to work night shift. I don't think so. He wasn't there then that night. So Yeah, I remember multiple times ringing him when he was at work, just in tears, like, "I don't know what I'm doing." Yeah.
Mm.
Mm.
What would he say when you would
Sometimes he would come home, he'd go, "Look, I'll see if I can leave work." And sometimes he would come home to try and help me, like, parent the kids, and, other times he would just, try and make me feel better, and I'd carry on, and he'd say it'll be okay, and I'd carry on and see him in the morning, and he would make me feel better, you know? He was very supportive in trying to make me feel better, but we didn't have any, like, plan of attack on actually how to change things.
Yeah. It does sound very sweet, though, very supportive.
Yeah, he was. He
So
was.
oh, yeah. So, alright, so this is a dark time. It's a very dark time for your family. What happened?
Well, my sister actually recommended that I read a book. She said, "Look, I've got this book, it's amazing. You should read it." And I don't know how she sold it to me. I can't remember her words, but I do remember my thinking. And I genuinely thought, like I said out loud to her, "Great, like, if that's gonna help me change my man and get him to do things that I want him to do, like, I will read it." We were talking about this the other day, and she laughs because she's like, "That's not how I sold it to you. Like, you somehow heard that message, but, I just let you roll with it." And I was like, "Okay, thanks." So I laugh because I swear that's what I heard her say, like, "This will help you change him, change things." And so, yeah, I couldn't wait to read it. I was actually quite excited. And yeah, I read it, and I just felt not alone. I think that was one of the nicest things. Yeah, like there were other women that felt these same struggles and felt powerless and hopeless and couldn't, yeah, yeah. So that was a beautiful part of reading it, like just feeling like, quite hopeful, right? But there was a lot of moments reading the book where I thought, ugh, cringy, like, yeah, that's me, and um, just felt embarrassed about it, but then also excited about it because, yeah, like just feeling a little bit like maybe I've got something. Like for the first time in my life, I kind of have a little bit of a plan. I kind of have something to try. And that felt very lovely. Yeah, that really
Oh,
did.
yeah. I love this. Yeah, okay. Sorry, go ahead. You were gonna say?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, just started to play with some of the skills, I think, and experiment with some things. And I remember there was a plumbing issue that happened, and usually I would just sort that out, and I'd ring a plumber and it would be sorted, and probably wouldn't even tell my husband or about it, right? But I started to experiment with the skills, and I thought, okay, even though, yeah, I told him about it, and he said, "Yeah, sweet, I'll sort it." And I thought, okay, can I trust him with this? Like, is he gonna fix it himself? Like, is that even legal? Like, does it need to be signed off? I don't know. There was just all these thoughts, but ultimately a lot of mistrust in that experiment. So it was just a very interesting thing to kind of witness my thoughts and witness the intense challenge to just not say anything and to kind of just experiment with letting him do it. Seems silly, but it was very, very hard to just witness those thoughts and not act on them. So I stepped back and I let him handle it, and he did fix it himself. And I remember feeling proud of him. Like, I remember feeling attracted to him. Like, wow, this guy's like, he's kind of good. He just sorted that. He's not even a plumber. Like, he just sorted that. And it was fun. It was amazing. It was fun. And I thought, yeah, this is cool. Like, I feel a little bit of connection, and that's what I want. Like, this is great. I'm going to keep experimenting. Yeah, it was exciting.
I love that story, and I love that you were doing this for science, right? You were gonna just, like, it was an experiment, and then you noticed yourself feeling more attracted to him and realizing, like, "Oh, yeah, he's capable," and I just love the thought too where you're like, "Is that even legal? Is this gonna be okay?" and finding it's very hard. And I just relate to that so much too. So, all right. So, yeah. So what else so you decided to keep experimenting. What else did you experiment with?
Yeah, yeah, good question. Just lots of gratitude, I think, like was one of the biggest things. Because yeah, I felt very well, I was very comfortable in looking for the worst case scenario and everything. So Laura, I think I was in my younger years, I worked in like the food industry. And I was a quality control officer or quality assurance. And so that was just I was really good at that. You know, I could spot things that needed to be fixed, and I could, see hazards, and I could, I was always kind of on the lookout for like what could go wrong. And that was my job. I was good at it. And so I guess I kind of, that was just my natural instinct, I guess. And I brought that into my marriage and my life as well. So I was constantly on the lookout for what's going to go wrong. And so I kind of did not really feel like I had the skill of gratitude. Like I had none of it in my life. Like there was, I couldn't, I couldn't see the good in things. And so that is one thing I did start to experiment with a lot, was just trying to start practicing being grateful for random things, just a roof over my head and the sun shining, and just to kind of just start seeing things through a different lens. And that was fun. And I also remember trying to experiment with just, having those debates with family members or whatever, and just sitting there going, yeah, I mean, yeah, that could be right. And yeah, I hear what you're saying. And just kind of casually kind of saying these words where I desperately just wanted to give my opinion. It was just, and so I was just experimenting with, yeah, that could be right. I know what you mean then. I hear what you're saying. Just, just, yeah, it was just so hard. But so interesting as well. So yeah, I had all of these kind of experiments going on. It was,
Did their heads explode when you started just saying, "Oh, I hear you"?
no, I think they were, I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking. Like maybe, like probably they were like, who is this girl? But they didn't show it. I think they just felt respected,
Wow.
you know?
It's so meta because you're watching yourself saying, "I hear you," or "Oh, that's interesting," instead of like try to persuade or
Mm,
convince. And you're like, so you're doing it and you're kind of watching yourself do it. And
mhm,
it was hard. It was hard to do. It sounds like.
It was
But
so hard. So hard.
so
Yeah. My instinct was to just share my opinion and have that conversation and debate. And, that was kind of fun and that was normal. So it was very hard to just listen.
so how did it change those conversations then? There was no debate, it sounds like.
Yeah, there was just more space for them to talk, and it changed me because I just got to like experience just listening to someone and experience the connection that flowed from just listening and them feeling heard. That's an intimate thing. That there's something beautiful in that. And obviously they then hear I see that modeled back as well, when I do want to talk and I see them modeling the same thing back. It's like that mirror. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So it was difficult to do, but it sounds like it was rewarding. So you kept doing
Mm,
it. Is that right?
yeah. Yeah, it was rewarding. That part you described, like you're kind of just looking at yourself. Like it was fun to kind of be looking at myself from above, kind of going, this is just fascinating. Um, yeah, yeah, it was
Like, I'm
fun.
changing it up. I have a superpower now. I can just listen instead of
Yeah.
interrupting, and let's see what happens if I don't convince somebody of my point of
Mm.
view, and you rather liked it.
Yeah, that's it. And I think I'm glad that I was really open to experimenting. I think that is what helped me in this journey, was just being open to giving it a go and just seeing how it fit my life.
Yeah.
Because if you don't try, you don't know. So I was always very open to try, and I think I'm really grateful that I was. And like another thing that was really hard was experimenting with apologies and using the words, I apologize for being disrespectful when I was felt very, very cringy and very hard. But again, I was open to it. So no matter how corny or cheesy or, I was worried that he was going to laugh at me, or no matter all of those things, I always experimented anyway. And I'm so grateful.
You're so
But when
fearless about your experimenting, it sounds like.
mm,
Do you remember a story from a time that you apologized?
I've got, yeah, a few of those. Yeah, I do, Laura. Oh gosh. Um, yeah, there was one time in my marriage that, my husband had, all the money, all the money in the share market. And, it was around that time of COVID where I was just feeling so scared and terrified. And I just said, I want you to take it out. Like, I want you to take it out of the share market. And he was like, no, I'm not going to. I'm not going to do that. And I was like, well, you have to. Like, it's half mine. Like, you have to. Like, yes, you have to do it. And he goes, well, like, I'm not. And we kind of had the standoff. And then in the end, I got my way. And he did. He took it all out. And it was 2 years after that moment, like after my journey with the skills and going deep with them. Well, actually, it was 1 year after that I was talking with my friend about it, an empowered wife, and she said, "Why don't you apologize for that?" And I was like, "Nah, nah,
Oh,
nah, I'm not going to apologize for that. No way. Nah, I wanted it out of the shit. Like, I wanted that. No, I'm not going to apologize for that." And then it was another whole year after that I really just felt like looking at that situation differently. And I thought, I do want to apologize for that. I just feel like so sad that I was so fearful and that I just, everything I did during that time, I was just acting on fear. And the way I did it, there was so much about that situation that I can apologize for. And so I remember like heading up. He was sitting in the corner of the couch, and I went and sat beside him. And I said, "I've got something that I'd love to apologize for." And he was like, "Okay." And I said, I want to apologize for being disrespectful when I demanded you take that money out of the share market 2 years ago." And he just looked at me and he said, "Well, I learned a big lesson that day. I won't share anything with you again." And I just felt heartbroken because it didn't go the way I wanted it to.
yeah.
And I just had to walk away with my tail between my legs and just, yeah. But he was hurt. Like 2 years later, he was still really hurting from that.
Wow. Oh, that is an awful
Mhm.
response. Yeah.
Mm.
Kind of I mean, you could say, well, I won't be apologizing for things like that anymore then either. Right? Is
Yeah.
that how you felt?
Uh, at that time, because this was 2 years into my journey, I just knew that, he was hurting and that um, his response wasn't the important part, that I needed to say what I wanted to say. And I just kind of had this faith. Like it was beautiful to have a bit of faith in my life now, but I had this faith like everything's going to be okay. Like he knows I'm sorry now, and that's really important, and everything's going to be okay. So
Wow.
yeah, it was a really nice experience, even though it wasn't a nice experience.
Yeah, it sounds very painful. And I mean, you hear so many stories of like, I apologized and he apologized too, or he said that's
Yeah,
okay, or, I wasn't like that at all.
no, it wasn't.
No. Okay. So, huh. All right.
No.
So, but so this is kind of amazing. You still considered it a
Mm.
good experience, a painful
Yeah.
experience, but you
Mm.
felt empowered somehow, it sounds like.
Yeah, I think there was probably, I could probably say there's about a million apologies between then and when I first started practicing the skills. So I had had a lot of experience with like apologizing and just like I had had those apologies where he said, "Oh, thank you." And, but I had had times too when he, really surprised me and said, "Yeah, well, you should be sorry for that." So I'd had it all kind of by the time I was doing this big one. So I think it was just, again, that willingness to experiment and just to, I just built up a certain strength of, yeah, it's going to be okay. Yeah, I don't know.
You're undeterred, even though he would say oh yeah, you should be sorry for that.
Yeah, he would say that. Yeah,
You
he
didn't
would.
just, okay, I'm not into that. I'm never apologizing again. Okay. So you just, I hear so much determination to
Yeah.
continue with the skills,
Mm.
even though these reactions are not going well. Was there a moment when because your original desire with reading the book was to make sure he changed. So, was there a moment when you thought, okay, this is working, he's changing, or
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, there was this night, and we were sitting by the fire. It was a winter's night, and the fire was going, the kids were all in bed, and we had a glass of wine. And we sat down to have a glass of wine, and he just turned to me, Laura, and he just had the most beautiful smile on his face. And he just said, "I love you so much." And I mean, those words, I don't know, to me, along with that smile and that, like, him looking directly into my eyes, I hadn't had that for a long time. I hadn't felt that connection. And like, I felt just he does authentically love me. Like, I just felt it was so beautiful. And I just knew then, like, everything's going to be okay. We're going to be fine. It's going to get better and better and better from here. Yeah.
wow, beautiful. What a great,
Mm,
tender moment. And it sounds like you knew that you had created that.
mm, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Definitely attributed that to the skills. Definitely. Mm-hmm.
All right, I love it. I love it. So, what about these discussions? Like, you were never able to have these discussions with him.
Mm-hmm.
That what are we doing with our lives? And
Yeah.
so, what happened there, or how is what's going on with that?
Yeah. So I think what happened is, I talked a little bit about my mindset with gratitude and where I was at with, like, looking for the worst all the time and things. And I think that for me, there was this control, which led to this kind of, like, him withdrawing. And then, like, I just got resentful and, like, I didn't respect him. And then from there was, like, these negative stories that I would tell myself about him. And then, yeah. And so I think with the gratitude, it was kind of like, it reversed that cycle. It was like, okay, let's start with, like, what we love about him again, and just remind myself of all these good things. And then that kind of helped soften me a little bit and get some of that respect back. And then that kind of helped me with the hard one, which was to relinquish control. And the more that I relinquished control, the more he stepped up. And then the more I felt like, these SFPs were just no longer relevant. Like, he is totally capable, and and then I just started seeing all he was doing. And although in my mind originally, it was like, have the same conversations, agree on everything, then we're the team. It's like teamwork just changed to me. I just saw, wow, like, look, he's just made dinner. That's amazing. Look how hard he's working for the family. He would work 12-hour shifts, night shift. Like, so this idea of teamwork changed in my mind. So we didn't have to have necessarily these conversations to feel like a team. Like, I felt like a team anyway. And the conversations naturally started happening again over time. And yeah, so it got, the more I relinquished control, the more I trusted him, the more emotional safety, right? And that's when the conversation started happening.
Hmm.
It was just nice to feel like a team anyway, whether they were happening or not. Yeah.
Yes, you weren't having to say, I mean, energetically, like, "Come on, let's be a team. We're a team. We should be a team." It was already
Yeah.
happening, and it was just you changing your perspectives that made you feel that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, exactly. So I didn't feel the need to go, when we sit down on the couch. So what are we doing with our lives? Like I didn't feel the need to bring that conversation up, right? Mm,
Yeah. So is that something
mm.
yeah, do you ever say, "What are we doing with our lives?"
Well,
No,
he
or
says it as a joke now. Like he says it. Like we'll sit in the car and there'll be like a moment of silence and I'm doing something and he's like, babe, so what are we doing with our lives? And he just, yeah, it's just a bit of a laugh now. Yeah.
tease you, just to rub it
Mhm.
in to
Mhm.
which actually says a lot about the emotional safety, right? If he's able to play with you.
Mm. Mhm.
For saying that, that means it's pretty relegated to, like, this is a non-threat, this
Yeah.
sentence now. So, alright, so what kinds of conversations are you having with him about your lives? Like, what kinds of conversations have come up since you
Yeah,
preached
like
emotional safety?
yeah, beautiful question. So, gosh, there's some big things happening in our life at the moment where our second son is potentially going off to boarding school next year. And I remember, a few months ago, I was in the position where I really wanted him to go to up north. And, so I would say to my husband, like, I would really love our son to be amongst like the best basketballers in the country. And I'd love him to go to an Auckland school and, and just share that desire with him, and yeah, and one night where he got a text from someone and he said, "So what do you want? What do you want to do?" And I said, I'd love him to go to that school. And so I just find that the conversations are a little like I really just express myself more from the space and a desire and really get in touch with what I want and share with him in that way rather than, going, so, hey, so like next year the best thing for him would be da 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 and kind of get in that energy, which is my default in the old days. Like that's how I would have approached that conversation. And so I just feel this really just this peace and being able to share what I want and then kind of just leaving it in his hands. And I just have a lot of faith now, Laura. Like that's one of the biggest differences for me as a person is I just trust like that, like I'm going to share that and everything's going to be okay. Like it'll just work out how it's supposed to work out. And it doesn't matter if he ends up going there or not. I just really do have this faith that I never had before, right? I think it's really nice.
Wait, so, I don't get it though, like, you want him to go to that school. I mean, what if your husband says, "No, he's gonna go to this other school?" Like
Yeah, good question. So yeah, my husband, yeah, he didn't want him to go to boarding school. He didn't want him to. He said he wanted him to stay at a local school. And I just said, yeah, I hear you, and I would love, and I just shared my desire. But yeah, I think I'd just say like I hear you, and just leave it. And that situation, Laura. So this recently, he got invited to have a conversation with someone down south, so different area altogether. And I said, oh, I'd love, like they invited to go and have a look through the school. And I said to my husband, I'd love to go, like I'd love to take him down. So we all went down, me, my husband and my son, and we looked through the school. And I just said at the end of the day, I'd love him to go there. It's such an amazing school. I'd love him to go there. And he just looked at me and said, yeah, I'd love it too. I'd love it. It's amazing. And yeah, he's going to go there next year, which is a different area than where I originally expressed. I was thinking north, but actually, this area he's going to has the best basketballs in the country. Like, this is the one. Like, this is actually even better than my original desire.
you changed your mind. Your desire changed.
That's true. Yeah.
And it sounds like you kinda held it loosely to begin with. Like, there wasn't a lot of you weren't insisting, like, "No, this is where he's going. We're making sure
Yeah.
this is how it's gonna be." There was none of that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there was. I thought about that too because I think I originally said I would love him to go to an Auckland school. And then I think I said, like, I would love him to go to a school where there's the best basketballs in the country because that was really the true desire. Like, it wasn't really about, but I thought that was Auckland. I thought in my mind when I was saying that that's where I was imagining. But now the truth is he's going to like the opposite side of the country. But that is where I would, like, it's arguably the place where the best basketballs in the country are. So, yeah, I think being able to dig under that first desire and just get a little clearer on what the real desire was, I think was a bit powerful.
Very powerful. I love this story. It's a great example of expressing an end desire, right? Not being attached to the how. So you were saying, I wanted to go to the best basketball school. And it seemed like Auckland was that. So in your mind, that's it. It's Auckland and the best basketball school. They're the same. And then as more was revealed, your true desire kind of came out singing over that. And that's what you're experiencing. Your son's going to the best basketball school in New Zealand. Yeah.
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 Yeah,
I
that's
just love
happening then.
very skilled, very highly skilled, especially, and what a contrast to the old days when he's half my son, take it out, right? Like, or with the sharing market. So the share market. Yeah. So, so what is your marriage like now? These kinds of conversations.
Yeah. So our marriage is very, very peaceful, and there's no roller coasters anymore. So we're kind of just like rolling along, like very calmly. And if we do argue, it's very civilized, and I can kind of express myself in a calm way. And yeah, he's tender with me in those moments too. It's like it's very calm and peaceful, I think, are the words I would use. And then also obviously playful as well. We can joke together. And yeah, so the biggest change is just there's no highs and low lows. We're just like really happy, and it's just so, it feels so safe. And I think, like, I feel in the bad old days, I think if I invited you over, then it's like 50-50. Are you going to walk into like a very tense environment, or are you going to walk into like a fun environment? Like, I don't really know. Like, I'd be kind of nervous to invite you over, Laura. And now I just feel like people can come into our home, and it's just peaceful and calm, and everyone's happy, and the kids are happy, and it's just a really nice, nurturing place to be. And that's just, yeah, that's how it feels. And that's just such a gift to me and to my kids. I think that's so important. Yeah.
It sounds like a wonderfully safe environment. Like, yeah, relaxed, calm environment. And what about, how has this impacted? Do you interact with your children differently than you did pre-skills?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Laura. Yeah. So parenting, I've used the skills also a lot of my parenting. Um, I think for me, it's a very challenging thing for me to relinquish control of my kids. Like I told you that snippet of when I was pregnant, and I already felt that intense control and like wanting to protect them. And so that's carried like on right through with my children, and right up until that terrible night, where I found my son just like in that space where he just wanted his own autonomy, and that power struggle was starting to happen. And so for me, it's like relinquishing control of like them slowly as they grow. Like, obviously there's a lot of appropriate control, and everyone's the expert in their own life with this. But for me, it was a really great tool to be able to use, like, you know, can I relinquish control of this with my son in this situation? And a lot of the times I would think, well, yeah, I can. Like, yeah, I can. Like, I can. And like, for example, one night as well, I remember my son wanted to go out, and, my instinct is like a million questions, like, who's the parents? And do what time are you going to be home? And all the questions. And even like my husband just stepped in, and he just he just dealt with it, and he just said to my son, like, have a great night. And I just watched him and I just thought, oh wow, like you're so trusting, like you're so beautiful. I was just amazed watching my husband parent in that situation. He didn't ask a million questions. He was full of trust for our teenage son. And so that's a change for me to like let my husband step in and take a lot of the control in those kind of situations. And that's like a blessing because I don't have to deal with it. But also I get to be amazed at how good he is at trusting our kids. So me personally, I've leaned on relinquishing control in that way, like letting my husband step in, but also asking myself, like moment to moment, like, is this something I can relinquish control of? And sometimes I can, and sometimes I can't. And so I think, so what's the most respectful way that I can put these boundaries in place with the kids, because feel a bit embarrassed saying this, but I think that my boundary setting in the past was very disrespectful. Like I was always no, you can't, like I was disrespectful in the way I set boundaries. And so now I try to bring a lot of respect into my parenting and, it's not always appropriate to relinquish control. So when I do take control, I try to do it really respectfully. And, it's just changed everything. I have been on a big journey through these teenage years with my sons, with the skills for sure.
And so how is that? I love that. And I love this example you give of your husband being so trusting and you like observing that too, right? You're very much the observer of these new situations when you're experiencing the skills and kind of admiring how trusting he is, even though it sounds like it kind of goes against all your mama instincts to like have these boundaries. What time will they be home? Who are you with? Where are you guys going to go? And just letting that go. So, and I assume everything was fine that night. Sounds like it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything was fine. Yeah, exactly. And, even just witnessing that, I was like, my instinct to have all that control, um, you know, I was watching it and I couldn't have done it in the moment like he did. But I just thought, it is an appropriate control at this point. Like he's old enough. Like he doesn't need, I felt watching it like, I didn't need to ask those questions either. Like,
So
yeah.
you let it go by. You kind of made space for him to be the parent, the dad in that situation.
Mhm.
And at the end of it, it sounds like it sounds like you're proud of yourself for not,
Yeah.
yeah, is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not like I watched him do something that I disagreed with. I
Yeah.
watched him and I thought, yeah, nah, that's the right way to handle that situation. I would have done it differently, but I'm glad you did it the way you did it. Like I can see that was perfect. Like he's an 18-year-old at this point, right? He can live his own life at any point in time. So yeah, the controlling instinct's still there, um, for sure, and it's just like a, constant check-in and it gets easier, but yeah, it's still there.
Yeah.
Mm,
It's a great
mm.
example, though, of you trusting your husband who's trusting your son. And
Yeah.
you were trusting them both too. And so how has that impacted your relationship with your kids?
Yeah, oh gosh, so much. So much. Just yeah, it's very, very hard to find the words. It's very emotional, but, um oh, Laura, I just can't start to describe my gratitude to you, for the way it's changed my life. And it means so much to me to have that relationship with my children, and it's just an absolute gift. It's an absolute gift to have connection and intimacy with them, and to be able to trust them. Like I remember going through something as a teenager, and I remember my mum saying to me, "You're a smart girl, you'll figure it out." I remember her saying that, and I remember thinking, yeah, I'll figure it out. And so now I really do get to trust my kids and, have faith in them. And I was missing all of that before, and it's the most important thing. It's really so beautiful as a result, to have that intimacy and connection. And the other night I just went in and lay in bed with my 18-year-old, and he gave him a cuddle, and he showed me some videos that he did, that like some sparring fighting he did that day, and it's just so sweet and so tender to be able to have those moments. It just means everything to me.
Yeah, and he's happy to show you things. He's happy to share his life. He's
Mm.
not, yeah, defensive or it sounds very connected, intimate, beautiful.
Yeah, thank you,
Yeah,
Laura.
yeah, and it sounds like I mean, and I think you're describing what every mother wants with her, especially with a grown son, an 18-year-old son, to be part of his life, to have that kind of connection.
Mm.
It's pretty special, actually.
Yeah, it is. And yeah, so there's like the transformation there. There's the transformation in my the home and me and my husband. And then I think also there's this like massive self like transformation. I feel so blessed as well to be able to have that gratitude outlook, on the attitude of gratitude now, and to be trusting in my husband and my kids, and no longer, think the worst all the time. It's just actually so nice to not have to be in that way of being anymore. Like it was actually, when I look back, so hard. It was such a hard way to be, a hard way to live. But yeah, just to have the knowing to look after myself and bring joy to my own life. And yeah, it's just amazing to be proud of my actions, and to feel dignified, and like most of the time, right? It's just, there's nothing better. So I'm just so grateful for all of those things.
Yeah, I
So,
love that. That sounds wonderful, and it's hard won. It's a hard won, transformation, but it sounds so worthwhile. Is there a moment like, is there a story from a day when you thought, "Ah, look who I am now. Like, I am not that, person who can find everything that's wrong all the time anymore," or I see myself filled with gratitude, and I like, is there a story?
oh, well, every day I just feel grateful. So it's kind of hard to pick a moment. But I
Mhm.
guess I'll just share what comes to my mind. And I remember, um, you know, there was a little bit of complaint about the town and not having like a good netball system. And so the girls are kind of like getting to a certain age and going off to college and not having like a lot of basic skills. And so I just thought to myself, like, yeah, that's annoying. And, I would love my daughter to be able to have all the basic skills by the time she reaches like a college age. And so I started a netball academy in Morrinsville, and we have 40 something girls that come. We have 3 levels. So I just feel like my whole life is different now, because I'm able to kind of just find my desires and kind of just follow them through my life. And yeah, rather than sit in that complaint, right? So yeah, it's just amazing.
That is amazing. So you had a desire, and this is a passion project, and there's 40 girls now getting this training. That's exciting. So this and are you saying, like, in the in your old life, this might not have happened? Is that right?
This would
Or
this would not have happened. No, Laura, this wouldn't have happened, and I would have just been sitting in the complaint, and I would have just been upset about that, like, probably, and I would have moaned about it to probably quite a few people.
And your daughter still wouldn't be getting those skills. But as it is, not only is she getting the skills, but all these other
Mhm.
girls too. And I mean, it sounds fun. It sounds like a fun. I don't know. Was it fun for you to put that together, or was it hard
Was,
work?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely fun. Yeah, it's fun. And along the way, it's interesting because there's like a lot of admin with it, organizing and things. And I actually love like being on call with the kids. And so, you know, even the other day I was doing the admin and checking things and, I thought, like I'm not actually enjoying this part so much. Maybe I would love like someone like to get someone to help me with this. And so just in that moment, I just know like I'm still doing the admin, Laura, but there was the feeling of like, I don't quite like doing this part of the job. And then straight away there's I would quite love like someone to help with this. And just the movement through into that desire is fine. And I said, I'm still doing all the admin and I'm fine with it. But I just know that something will pop up like when it's meant to, like the right person will come along and it'll all be okay. But just having moved through that easily into finding what I want, I just know it's going to happen.
That's awesome. You always get what you want, Bonnie.
Yeah. Just in a different way now, I
In a
think.
different way. In a different way. I love this, and I love that it immediately came out as a desire. Like, did you consider having a moan about it for a while first?
Yeah, yeah. I moaned in my like sitting by myself with my computer for about like a second and a half. Like I felt that, I don't like this. And fine, like yeah.
And somehow it sounds like just identifying the desire kind of also made it, I don't know, made it more okay somehow too.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, yeah, it did. It was like, it's all gonna be okay. Yeah, it did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's not like it forever. Yeah. Cause there's a brighter future.
Mhm,
You know that your
mhm.
desires are powerful and you're good at getting them. Yeah. You're good at getting what you want. You said it
Yeah,
perfectly.
exactly. Like I could go and find someone that afternoon if I wanted, but I didn't wanna do that. I just know, yeah, it'll happen when it will.
Yeah.
So I will either go and find someone or someone will just pop up and
Yeah.
it might just
Yeah.
work out. So yeah, either way.
People pop up. It's true. Yeah. Just when you
Yeah.
need them. I love it. I love it. And, has your husband changed?
Mm, absolutely. So, jumping back to that moment where I wanted to read the book to change him, he absolutely has changed, like 100%. And I think that everybody that I interact with changes, or has changed. So I feel like my kids have changed. I feel like my in-laws have changed. I feel like my family, my sisters, my parents, I feel like they've changed. I feel like my husband's changed. I feel like everybody around me has changed. I do. And and it comes back to that conversation where like I was listening big and then they listened big, like whereas we were talking over each other before. Like we're all changing. It's beautiful. It's like everyone's mirroring each other. So I do think that, yeah, there's a lot of personal change, but there's absolutely change in my husband. Hmm.
Wow. So what's the biggest difference in him?
Well, when I look now, like he was always amazing. He was always amazing. He was always solid. Um, so yeah, I think that was always there, but I feel like he is just very tender with me and he's so giving, um, and he'd do anything for me. And I just feel like I trust that like wholeheartedly now, whereas I don't think I did before. So whether it was always, I think it was there, Laura, anyway, but it just shows now. And yeah, I trust it. Yeah.
You get to experience it now.
Yeah, I do.
Or, but it's kind of cool to think that you read this book and it changed your husband. Like
Yeah.
that is reality still,
Yeah.
which I love, right? Why not? That is what I wanted too. I wanted to practice the skills.
Mhm.
Well, I didn't think of it that way. I just thought I'm going to do these things and then he's going to shape up.
Yeah,
And, and
exactly.
that kind of is the outcome.
Yeah, it is, like, it is the outcome. Like, in terms of our life, like, our life is completely different. Laura, there's so much I could share, but, he manages all our finances now, and I did all of that. Like, I was the self-appointed financial controller. So, like, he is massively different in that way. Like, he takes on he's doing everything and managing all of that, and he's got a very amazing job managing a factory, and so he's massively, like, he's achieving so much personally in his job and taking on so much as the role of the one here sorting all the financial stuff out here for me. And of course, that was a huge journey in relinquishing the control. But he was capable all along. I just felt like I would do a better job. Um, but it has just been such a powerful journey, and we could probably talk like another hour on this in itself. But for me, the what I do with my time now and versus what I did then, like before, I thought that's what defined me. Like, I was good at that and I needed to do it. And there was just this, like, that's part of who I am. I've always saved, and I've always been interested in investments. And so that's who I am. And now my husband manages that side, and I have all this time to go and discover all these different parts of me, and yeah, and all the stuff that I'm interested in, and follow different passions. So the dynamics have changed hugely in our relationship.
Wow. I love that. So not as, yeah, you were exhausted in the beginning. You were overwhelmed.
Mm,
And I don't hear any of that anymore.
no. Yeah, I'm still busy, but I'm doing what I love, and so it kind of like fills me up, and yeah, it's not draining. It's lots of fun.
Yeah. So there's someone listening right now, I'm sure, who is where you were, where they have these fights. She threatens divorce, or they can't talk, they can't speak about
Mm.
important things. And she wants what you have, where he's tender with you and he steps in to be the dad and he takes care of all the finances and she has more free time to explore her passions. She wants what you have. What is your tip for her, Bonnie? What should she do?
Yeah, gosh, good question. Yeah, I think if I put myself back there, I feel like the key and the most important thing I needed to do first was just to realize that I did want to be desired and cherished. Like, just to kind of make that decision. Like, I wanna be desired and cherished, and kind of get in touch with that desire, right? Because yeah, from there, like, once I realized that, like, I've got everything else I want, and I can get everything else I want, but I actually want this. That was sort of a powerful moment. And then, yeah, I would say to her, if she's the kind of woman that relates to being like more like the pessimistic person instead of the optimist, or she feels like she's stuck in complaints all the time, like, if that's her, then there's just some magic waiting. And yeah, like, jump into these skills because they are life changing.
Hmm.
Mm,
Oh, I love that.
mm,
It's just an incredible transformation that you've had, and we can see it. Your story
mm.
illustrates it so powerfully. So I love what what would you say to Bonnie if you could go back and tell her what you know now?
Yeah, that's a funny question. I don't know. I feel like she wouldn't have listened. Like she at a certain point in her journey, she wouldn't have listened. Um, And so I laugh at that. But I think, once she was at that right point, it's like, once she's ready, like, the teacher appears. Like, what's that saying? When the student's ready, the teacher appears. So, yeah, once she's ready, then I would say, just start with, what was the question? I've got it. What do I have to tell her, Laura? Is that what
Yeah.
I would do? Yeah. I would
Sorry.
say, just start with gratitude. Just start with trying to look at, what is going right, and and yeah, start changing the dance there. Like, I think that's just such a powerful place to start. And yeah, I would wish her like well, and I would say like your life is going to change. Like, it's going to be just a million times better. Don't be afraid. Just, yeah, don't be afraid. Dive in. You got this. I would cheer her on.
I love it, Bonnie. Yeah, it's so moving. I want to congratulate you and give you my Best Wife Award. For
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's incredible. Your whole family is transformed, and you even described right the relationships with your extended family and your in-laws, and everyone is transformed because of your determination and dedication. That really comes through so strongly in your story. Your willingness to experiment and feel afraid and do it anyway. As you're very brave, and I just think it's an incredible accomplishment that you've fixed your family. You've created a tender marriage, and I just admire that about you so much. So well done.
Mm. Laura, thank you so much. I'm just receiving your award and your beautiful words. It just means the world to me to hear your acknowledgement, and thank you so much for everything, for changing my life. I'm just so filled with gratitude for you. I really am.
Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you. I feel the same way. Very grateful for you. This has been such a treat. I feel so filled up and so inspired from getting to hear your story. And I just know so many listeners are too. And I just can't thank you enough for the privilege.
You're so welcome. Yeah, it's an honor to share my story with you, Laura, and all the other women too that listen. Yeah, it really is.
If you want all the tips, tricks, and traps about how to use a spouse-fulfilling prophecy in your situation, you can get that in my group coaching program. So for more on that, get my free Adored Wife Roadmap and the link below this video. Now, this takes some courage to do, but if you're feeling brave, you can do it tonight. So are you ready to try a spouse-fulfilling prophecy? Okay, then go, go, go. For more of the proven secrets on how to make your marriage playful and passionate without his conscious effort, check this out.